All of you to strip down to your underwear. Now.
Dalton Russell appears on camera, confidently saying that he carried out a flawless Wall Street bank robbery and walked right out the front door without being caught. The only mystery is how he managed to do it. Dalton and his crew arrive at the Manhattan Trust Bank. He enters first and quickly takes control of the place, subduing everyone inside. Within seconds, their well-planned operation turns the guards and customers into hostages. A police officer walks toward the bank as smoke begins to rise. Before he can finish his call, Dalton comes out pretending to be one of the hostages and warning that anyone who gets too close will be killed. The officer quickly calls for backup. Soon, the entire police team arrives, securing the area, taking positions, and locking down the street. At the same time, Arthur, the owner of the Manhattan Trust Fund, is notified that his bank branch has been attacked and that hostages are inside. The news makes the situation even more tense. Arthur quickly contacts Madeline White, a powerful broker, to protect his family heirlooms kept in the bank's safe. She lays down a rule. If Arthur reveals what's inside the safe, even though he isn't required to and lies about keeping it secret, their deal will be canceled. Arthur doesn't tell the truth or lie. He only wants to make sure that the secret items in the safe are either well protected or completely destroyed. Madeline agrees to help Arthur. At the same time, two important figures arrive, Detectives Fraser and Mitchell from the hostage negotiation team. Fraser is an experienced officer, sharper than most, but he's dealing with an internal issue that could put him in trouble. Determined to do his job, he and Mitchell hurry to the bank, get into a police vehicle, and receive a briefing from Captain Darius, the officer in charge of the scene. Fraser tells Darius that no one yet knows how many suspects or hostages are inside the bank. He insists on taking control of the situation and asks Darius to update him as soon as more information comes in. Meanwhile, Fraser and his partner take a quick dinner break. Inside the bank, the robbers lead the hostages to the vault room, line them up, and separate the bank employees from the customers. Dalton then orders everyone to take out their keys and phones, hold them up, and let his crew collect them. One bank employee refuses to give up his phone, saying he left it at home. Dalton doesn't believe him. He finds the man's number on another phone, calls it, and learns the phone is actually in the office. Dalton drags the employee there and beats him badly to make an example for everyone else. When he walks out, Dalton is covered in blood. A man then hands him a set of keys, and a boy points out a gaming console, which Dalton orders them to keep. Dalton then reshuffled the hostages, lining them up by gender and ordering everyone to remove their underwear except for an elderly woman. She was taken to another room by Dalton's female accomplice. Meanwhile, Dalton told the rest of the hostages to put on the suits and masks they were given. Later, an older bank employee began to feel sick and said he had a heart condition. Dalton and one of his crew members allowed him to leave. As soon as he stepped outside, the police made him kneel. He told them that Dalton had sent him out with a warning. If anyone came near the bank, 2 dead bodies would be thrown out. The robbers checked on the remaining hostages and moved through the bank, passing the vault and the safe deposit boxes until they stopped in a back room filled with office supplies. Later, they were seen setting up the room and digging into the floor. Darius met with Fraser and Mitchell and told them about the man the robbers had released. The man said he thought there were 4 criminals inside. Darius also explained how he was securing the area, waiting for the bank's surveillance footage from the start of the robbery, and had all the bank's phone lines redirected. With his part done, Darius left the next move up to Fraser. The detective decided it wasn't the right moment to contact the robber, wanting to watch and see his next move. Mitchell found the robber's truck and planned to use it to cover for prints, even though the vehicle might have been stolen. When Fraser finally called the bank, Dalton let the phone ring without answering. The police then reviewed the security footage and noticed how the robbers had managed to avoid being seen, guessing they had used infrared lights to do it. Suddenly, the police spotted movement in front of the bank. Meanwhile, Madeline met with the mayor of New York to ask for help with an important matter. She explained that she was working for a client and needed to monitor the hostages inside the bank. Madeline requested permission to enter with the police to do her job. The mayor first refused, but after she insisted, he finally agreed to help her. The robbers released another hostage with a message for the police, tying him up as expected. The police noticed he was Sikh, but wrongly assumed he was an Arab terrorist, disrespecting his faith by making him remove his turban. He was treated harshly and later taken to a diner where Frazier and others questioned him about what he had seen. The Sikh man was furious and had to be calmed down before he agreed to talk. He confirmed that the robbers were foreigners and said there were about 20 to 30 hostages inside. The police read the note that came with the hostage. The robbers demanded 2 buses and a large jet to be delivered before 9 p.m. If the police missed the deadline, they threatened to kill 1 hostage every hour. They also warned that the bank was filled with plastic explosives. Darius said getting a jet wasn't possible, but they might manage the buses. Frazier replied that the robbers wouldn't get anything, not even a cup of coffee, until they spoke directly with him. Suddenly, some cases were loaded into the truck, and someone asked if he could help and what he thought about the robbers' demand for a jet. The elderly man asked if they wanted him to arrange a jet for the robbers. The officers were surprised that he wanted to stay and watch the situation, but they eventually escorted him out of the truck. Soon after, the robbers asked for food to be delivered, giving the police a chance to listen in on their conversations. The surveillance officer suggested sending pizza so that everyone would gather and talk more. When Frazier asked about the special listening device, she explained that it was a digital recorder that could capture up to 30 seconds of audio. Meanwhile, one of the hostages tried to act tough, so the robbers reminded him of what had happened to the bank supervisor. They led him through several rooms with the other hostages and finally locked him in the office supply room. When the last food order arrived, Frazier oversaw the delivery and introduced himself to Dalton, hoping to get him to talk and agree to speak on the phone. But Dalton stayed silent. Later, the police heard noises coming from inside the bank and realized the robbers were speaking another language, most likely Russian. Frazier sent Mitchell to question the released hostages about whether they had heard anyone speaking Russian or with a Russian accent inside the bank. Meanwhile, the robbers staged a setup with the hostages. They moved one person into another room, and a female robber pretended to be a hostage and returned to the first group. When another robber brought her to a different room, he grabbed another woman and took her to a third room. Later, the real female robber was seen digging a hole. In the supply room, a police officer who was born in Russia listened to the recording and said the language sounded like Russian, but it was actually closer to Bulgarian, which he described as a Central European language. Frazier then had the idea to play the recording over loudspeakers to see if anyone nearby could recognize it. A construction worker identified the language as Albanian because his ex-wife was from there. The police tried contacting the Albanian consulate, but got no response. So Frazier asked the worker to call his ex-wife for help. When the woman arrived, she agreed to help in exchange for having a parking ticket dismissed. Frazier asked her to listen to the recording and explain what it said. She laughed, saying she not only understood the conversation, but also recognized the voice. The police were excited to have finally identified the speaker. Before answering, the woman reminded them about her parking ticket. Once they agreed to clear it, she revealed that the voice belonged to the former communist president of Albania. Berhaksa then realized the robbers had only played a random recording, knowing the police were listening and trying to throw them off. In some of the scattered bank footage, Dalton was seen near the vault and the money, which made his actions look suspicious. Later, he and one of his partners opened another safe that contained documents, diamonds, and small bags inside a jewelry box. Dalton took the documents while the other man closed the box. Around the same time, the mayor and Madeleine arrived at the bank to meet Detective Fraser. After being introduced, Madeleine quickly explained why she was there. Fraser hesitated but eventually agreed to let her help. Madeleine and the mayor used some old-fashioned persuasion to get him to cooperate. Finally, Dalton picked up the phone and spoke with Fraser, but the conversation led nowhere. Dalton only repeated his demands and warned that he would start killing hostages if they weren't met within his deadline. The same thing happened during the next call. Fraser tried to stall for time, not realizing that Dalton was manipulating him. He sent Dalton more food when Dalton asked for a sandwich. Meanwhile, inside the bank, the robbers finished digging a hole in the supply room, setting up an important part of their plan. After Fraser called Dalton, he let Madeleine speak with him. She managed to convince Dalton that they should talk directly. Fraser accompanied her to the bank, concerned she might get lost, but Madeleine assured him she had gotten there with help from friends, not enemies. Once inside, she offered Dalton a deal, a short prison sentence, and $2 million after his release in exchange for the contents of the safe deposit box. Dalton clearly knew who Madeleine was working for, and he also knew that Case had been a Nazi collaborator in Switzerland during World War II. Madeleine only asked to see the contents of the safe deposit box, urging Dalton to show her what he had found. She told him he could keep it as insurance if he ever got caught for the robbery. She and her boss would help him get out. When Madeleine left the bank, she casually told Fraser that she had made Dalton another offer, and that he was thinking it over. Fraser asked what she thought of Dalton, and Madeleine replied that he was intelligent and not a killer. Later, 3 police officers gathered to discuss Dalton and try to understand his plan. Fraser decided to change his approach and stop following standard procedures, suspecting that Dalton already knew their every move. He called Dalton and offered to arrange the jet if he was allowed to go inside and check on the hostages first. Dalton agreed. In the next scene, Fraser entered the bank and was taken to the room where the hostages were held. He saw that everyone was alive and unharmed, but when he asked to take the boy with him, Dalton refused. Before leaving, Fraser promised that he would get all the hostages out safely. Fraser confronted Dalton and warned him about the tactical team waiting outside, but Dalton outsmarted him. As Fraser was leaving, he tried to pull off someone's mask, but another person stopped him just in time. Dalton became angry and again demanded a bus. He then went to the supply room and asked one of his crew members how much longer it would take to finish their work. The man replied it would take about 2 to 3 hours. Fraser went back to the truck and told Darius that Dalton wasn't a killer and that they should wait to see what he planned to do next. When Fraser called back and told them to point the camera at the window, they saw Dalton aiming a gun at a hostage and shooting him on camera. Because of this, Fraser was removed from the case, and Darius took over command. Darius planned to send in the tactical team as soon as possible, but storming the bank was risky and could lead to serious problems. The only safe option was to use rubber bullets to avoid killing anyone. Mitchell believed that if something went wrong again, Fraser would be blamed for it. But Fraser said he had made a deal with Madeleine and would soon be promoted to first-class detective. Before Darius could order the raid, Fraser found out that the robbers had been listening to their conversations using a hidden device in a drawer. He immediately called the captain to report it. Darius then decided to move forward with the operation. When Dalton found out, the robbers threw smoke grenades and led the hostages out before the police could break in. As soon as the hostages were outside, the tactical team moved in, subdued everyone, and made arrests. They entered the bank to search for money or bodies, checking every room, the vaults, and the supply room, but found nothing. Fraser, Mitchell, and Darius went downstairs, where the tactical team leader reported that there were no bodies and nothing had been stolen. The police then realized that the robbers' guns were fake and the danger to the hostages had been an act. All the hostages and robbers were taken to the police station for questioning, but no one could tell who was a hostage and who was part of the gang. Later, the captain told Fraser that the case was closed. Fraser was shocked but refused to drop it. The captain insisted that everything had been taken care of. Still, Fraser found a clue about the bank's secret safe and began connecting the dots. He met with Madeleine again and played a recording of her and the mayor trying to extort him. In exchange for keeping the recording secret, Frazier asked her to give him information about Case's safe deposit box. She only gave him a vague hint and told him to forget about it. Later, Madeleine met with Case and told him that Frazier was no longer a problem, but Dalton still had the documents from the safe as protection in case Case tried to get revenge. Madeleine already knew the safe contained both diamonds and important papers. Case then revealed that it also held a Cartier ring that had belonged to some Jewish friends he hadn't saved from the Nazis because they had paid him too well. Before Madeleine left, he paid her, and she acted as though she wasn't judging him. A week after the robbery, Dalton reappeared and revealed how he had pulled it off. He had hidden inside the bank by using a clever trick while everyone was busy in the supply room. Dalton took the diamonds, the ring, and the documents, then slipped through a hidden wall and walked out looking like a regular customer. His accomplices were already waiting for him outside the bank. Frazier and Mitchell arrived at the bank. As Dalton was leaving, he accidentally bumped into Frazier but didn't realize who he was. Frazier went inside with a court order to open a safe deposit box. Inside, he found a piece of chewing gum, a Cartier ring, and a note telling him to follow the ring. Detectives came to question Case. Frazier asked him about the safe deposit box, suspecting it was linked to something illegal. Case tried to dodge the questions, but Frazier showed him the ring and said that once he dug deeper, he would understand what the wrongdoing was. After the police left, Frazier and Mitchell smiled, knowing the case was moving in the right direction.
Sorry.
Excuse me.